Love your videos, very informative. Thank you so much. I wanted to ask, what's the best source to find all the rules for medical writing in the UK? Great question. So there are 5 places I want to recommend to you. The first one is the ABPI, and they have something called the ABPI code, which you need to follow if you're going to be creating anything for a pharmaceutical company. And the pharmaceutical company is responsible for everyone who creates things for them, including any marketing materials. So as a medical copywriter, that's the kind of code that I would need to follow, especially if it's anything to do with prescription-only medicines, because you cannot, in the UK at least, actually advertise prescription-only medicines directly to the public or to patients. You can provide information and you can technically promote things to healthcare professionals so that they can learn about the prescription-only medicines. We can't advertise in any way, shape or form. This includes social media as well. But in America, you can, so different regulations. And the second place I would recommend is the PMCPA. So they release cases of when people have actually not followed the ABPI code. So you can learn from their mistakes so you don't do the same thing. So there have been some cases, for example, on people posting things on LinkedIn that they shouldn't have. And the third place I would recommend is the PAGB, which are the people who have the rule book, if you like, for anything that is over the counter. So this is very relevant to me as a pharmacist because I have done some projects with some people who wanted to promote their over-the-counter medicines, and you can advertise over-the-counter medicines, and we call them OTC or P line, which are pharmacy line medicines. And that was a really interesting project because it has to go through the PAGB, and it was essentially I was creating some Instagram content. So creating a brief for a designer, but then also writing all of the copy. So the fourth place I would recommend is the MHRA, and these are the big guys in the UK, and they set the rules for pretty much everything. So they are above the ABPI, the PMCPA, and the PAGB, so they will have some guidance. And the fifth place I would recommend is the Blue Guide, which is created by the UK government, and that has some rules and regulations in it as well. Generally, I would say that if you are a medical writer, you should be familiar with at least the ABPI code, and then you may need to attend some training on the ABPI code or the PAGB code as well, depending on what you are writing about. If it's general health information, then that is less likely to be regulated in a traditional sense, but you have a duty as someone who is creating health or medical information for the public that your information is actually accurate and evidence-based, and it's going to help someone to make health decisions, whether that's a healthcare professional or it's a patient or a member of the public or maybe their family. And also there are other rules around writing things like clinical trial documents or consent forms, and that goes more into like regulatory affairs. And also there are rules for different journals and for different magazines or different publications. So you'll have to look for those for that respective publication if you want to write for someone. And even I have a set of rules, for example, for Medical Writer magazine. So that's a careers and skills magazine for medical writers to learn about medical writing as a career, and also to learn where they can find places to learn skills, essentially, from other people who are medical writers. So I hope you found that helpful. And if you have any other questions, then feel free to comment. Otherwise, good.